In this video, I will show you how to create a multi-language website using ASP.NET Core MVC. So I will show you how to display the views in different languages. So here we have the home page displayed in English and we have the privacy page displayed in English. Let's change the language. So let's select German. So now the home page is displayed in German and the privacy page is also displayed in German. Then in the next video I will show you how to display the form validation errors and the controller data in different languages. So let's change the language again. Let's go to the contact page and let's submit the form. So here we can see that we have the form validation errors and the controller data displayed in English. Let's change the language. So let's select French. Let's submit the form again. So now we can see that the form validation errors, the controller data, and the names of the different fields are displayed in French. You can find the link of the second video in the description. To create a multilingual website using ASP.NET Core MVC, we need to follow this documentation page. And here we have the URL of the page. So I already created this application, which is an MVC application. We have the default controller, we have the default model, and we have these two pages. So this is the home page. Let's run the application. And we obtain this application. So this is the home page, and this is the privacy page. So to localize the views, we need to add the view localization service. So let's go to program.cs and just here we need to add the view localization service. Then we need to define the folder where we will save the different localization resources. So here we will save the localization resources into the resources folder. So later we will create this folder. Then we need to define the supported languages and the default language. So this is the list of the supported languages. Of course, you can add more languages, and the first language is the default language. Then we need to add the localization middleware that will localize the application. We can add it at the beginning of the pipeline. So just here, we need to call app.useRequestLocalization. So to find the selected language, this middleware will look for the language in three locations: in the URL, in the cookie, or in the request header. So in this video, I will show you how to save the selected language in the cookie. Now let's update the navbar to allow the user to select the language. So let's go to the layout file. And first let's add bootstrap icons. Then let's add a drop-down list that allows the user to select the language. We can add it after this UL element. So here we have this drop-down list, we have this icon, and this is the selected language. And here we have a list of the available languages. So we have EN for English, FR for French, and DE for German. So to select the language, we will send a parameter called culture to the index action of the language controller. So now let's create this controller. So let's create it in the controllers folder. And let's call it language controller. Then let's read the selected culture in the index action. So in the layout file, we can see that we will send a parameter called culture. So here let's add a parameter. Then let's save this culture into a cookie, so it will be used by the localization middleware. So we can delete this. And we can add a cookie in the cookies of the response. So this is the default cookie name, and this is the culture that we will save into the cookie. and this is the expiration date of the cookie. Then we will read the previous URL and we will redirect the user to the previous URL. So the possible values of culture are defined in the layout file. So culture can be either EN or FR or DE, and these values are defined in program.cs. So here we have EN, FR, and DE. Let's run the application. So here we can see that by default English is selected. Let's select another language. And now we have French. Let's select German. So the selected language is saved into a cookie. So let's make a right click, then inspect, then storage. And here we have the cookies. So let's select our domain and let's find the cookie that is used to store the value of the language. So by default it is called culture. And this is the value. We can see that the culture is DE for German. Let's change the language. And now we can see that the culture is English. Now let's create the resources that will be used to localize the views. So we need to create them into the resources folder. So now let's create this folder. Then let's create resources to localize the index view. So we need to create the resources in the same path of the index view. So we need to create the views folder, then the home folder. Then let's create resources. So let's select new item. Then here we can write resources. So let's select resources file, and this one let's call it index as the name of the view, .en for English. So if you don't have this editor, then we can make a right click on the resources file, then open with, and here you can select manage the resource editor legacy default. So you need to select it, then set as default. Then let's define keys and values that we will use in the index page. So here we need to localize this paragraph. So this is the value. Let's save it here. And let's give it a name. So we can use the key explore website. Let's do the same thing with the other content of the page. So we need to localize this title. And this title. We can also add numbers in the commands to be able to display these keys and values in the correct order. Then let's create other resources for the French language and for the German language. So in the home folder, let's create another resources file. Let's select a resources file, and this one let's call it index.fr.resx. And let's fill this file. Then let's create another resources file for the German language. Let's call it index.de. Then let's fill this file. Then let's use these keys to localize the index page. So first we need to request a service from the service container. So we need this service which is of type view localizer. Then let's use it to display the localized content. So here let's write @localizer. And let's provide the key that is defined in the resource files. So this is the key that we need. Let's do the same thing here and here. Let's run the application. So now we have the home page displayed in English. Let's select another language. And now we have the home page displayed in French. And now we have German. Now let's localize the privacy page and the layout file. So let's create the resource files of the privacy page. So let's call it privacy.en. Let's fill the file. Let's create another resource file for the French language. Then let's create another file for the German language. Then let's localize the privacy page. Then let's request the localization service from the service container. So instead of requesting this service in every page, we can include it to a single page that is included in all the pages of the application. So let's go to the index page. Let's cut this code. And let's save it in View Imports. Like this service will be available to all the views of this application. Now let's update the privacy page. Then let's localize the layout file. So first let's create resource files. So the layout file is available in the shared folder under views. So under views here, let's create another folder. Then let's create 3 resource files for the layout file. So I created these 3 files. Let's check the file for the English language. And here we have these keys. Now let's localize the layout file. So we can delete home and let's replace it with localizer of the key home. Let's do the same thing here. Let's scroll down. Let's delete privacy and let's replace it with localizer of the key privacy. Let's run the application. So now we can see that the navbar is also localized. Let's go to the privacy page and you can see that this page is also localized. Let's change the language. So now we have French and now we have English. In the next video, I will show you how to localize the form validation errors and the controller data. You can find the video link in the description.